I was burning brush today thinking about the time that I accidentally set a church on fire. It's fall here in Tennessee, the weather's cool, and I always look for a good excuse to start a fire. As I was doing the fire today, I couldn't help but think about the time in my 20s that I accidentally set a church on fire. I was traveling with a theatrical production to different churches, and I was in charge of pyrotechnics. I love fire. I know you're thinking, hey, Cigar Chris, that makes sense. You like fire. But I wasn't smoking cigars at the time, but I still loved fire. We pulled into this little church in Georgia. The sanctuary was tiny, the roof was low, and it didn't seem that abnormal. I would just have to bring down the load so it wouldn't be as big of an explosion. While we were setting up, we had some teenagers there who wanted to see some fire. And I knew that we didn't have a lot of extra powder to use, so I said, I don't need to do a test. I dismissed the side-eye glances I got as the people I know were thinking, you're not gonna test this out before we have people in here? Are you crazy? Yes, I was crazy. I was not smart. I did not think that one through. I should have tested it. I didn't, and that decision came back to burn me, pun intended. At the top of the ceiling, there was a speaker that was covered with burlap. Burlap basically is like a potato sack, and this burlap looked like it was 50 years old. So we're going through the first night, and everything's going fine. I'm doing some loads. The very first explosion, it hit up pretty high. I was a little nervous, but I thought, okay, I'll just bring them down even more than what I had. Next thing I know, after I hit a cue, the lights are down, and all of a sudden I hear somebody in the back going, fire! Fire! Oh, man. I think I may have been the only person in that room who, instead of instinctively looking up, I looked down. I didn't even want to see what was going on because I knew it was going to happen. That burlap, sure enough, went up in flames. There's utter pandemonium as the flames begin to creep across the top of that wooden church. I'm the pyrotechnic, so automatically everyone who wants to help out runs to me, and I grab a fire extinguisher, but it's one of those powder ones, and we try and point it up to the ceiling and blow it, but it doesn't do anything. The powder comes down, it doesn't reach anywhere near, so we start looking around for something to stand on to get on to get up high enough. So we get a couple of these what are called action packers. We stack them on top of each other. We've got two of them on top of each other. I jump on top and I hold it up and it still won't reach. Luckily, this church had a giant. This guy was over 7 feet tall and he comes rushing in. He's like, let me see if I can get it. So he clambers up on top of these action packers. Me and a couple other guys are holding the base, kind of holding on to him, making sure that he doesn't lose his balance. And he just sticks this thing straight up in the air and shoots it into the ceiling at the fire. Like I said, it's one of those old powder fire extinguishers. So as it's going up, there is just a cloud coming down all around us. I couldn't look up. Nobody could look up. Even the guy who was doing it couldn't look up because the powder was just coming down so thick on us. We're just hoping that it's reaching these flames. Well, he exhausts the extinguisher and thankfully the flames did go out. We look around and everything is covered in this nasty, thick powder. To add insult to injury, the church had just bought new chairs. So all of these brand new chairs are coated with this thick powder. It looks like a volcano had gone off. And it was just the aftermath of the devastation that was caused by me. Because the powder had coated everything, we had to completely tear down the set, vacuum and clean the whole church, clean all of the equipment, and then set it back up again the next day for the performance that night. It was an extremely humiliating, humbling experience. And the next night when I had that first the next night, whenever the first cue came for me to turn the key and get those pyros going again, everybody on the team just kind of sat there cringing, waiting for this massive explosion. The flames that shot out whenever I did that first load was pretty much like a spittle. It nothing. Because I wasn't going to go anywhere near what I was supposed to normally use. So I had these things down to like a quarter of what they should have done. Obviously, there's a lot you can learn whenever you have something as chaotic as lighting a church on fire happen. But for me, the two big walkaways were one, obviously, test something out before you try something. Don't just jump into something assuming that it's going to work out. Just because it's worked out before, if you're in a new situation, something looks different, don't be scared to say, let me try this before I fully commit. But the second thing, and honestly more important than that, is listen to counsel. Listen to those around you. Had I just listened to that kid, even though he was a kid, had I listened to him, I would have tested it out and found out I needed to bring the loads way down. I would have never started that fire. But I can thankfully say that since then, I have listened to the voices of those around me, people who love me, who care about me, even some random kid who sparks an idea Spark. That's two that I hadn't thought of. I think back to that time that I started a fire because I didn't stop and listen to those around me. I don't know if you're going through anything as chaotic as lighting a church on fire, but if you are, do yourself a favor and listen to the voices around you, and don't be scared to test things out before you fully commit. I hope you enjoyed my story. Maybe it may be. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the story. Hopefully it made you laugh. Maybe it may be. Good grief. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the story. Hopefully it made you think a little bit. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up, share it on social media, put something down in the comments section. And I will see you next time when we will share a cigar and change the world